Hey collectors, welcome to Star Wars Collected. I'm Jonathan. Just finished the 6th episode, 6th chapter of the Book of Boba Fett, and oh my gosh, was it not a treat. I've got a whole list of things here, notes I took during it, so we're just going to riff on what I saw, what I liked, and we'll go from there. So first of all, Kabbanth is back. That was really cool to see. I don't think you hire an actor like that to only have him show up the one time in Mandalorian season 2, so glad to see him back. Apparently he's some kind of dare cop because he seemed to care a lot about the fact that the drugs are being run through his territory, basically. Which, you can understand that. He seems like a pretty straight and narrow type of guy. The theme to this one seemed different to me. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seemed like it wasn't quite the Book of Boba Fett theme that we heard in the first couple episodes. I thought it sounded really cool. Cut to R2 freaking D2, right? As soon as I saw that little tiny dish up, I was like, that's my boy. I know that's him. Did anyone else feel like the rock off to the side when we first see the first kind of like spider droid was like a floating rock, like a force type rock? That's what I thought it was at first. That like the Jedi was like over the mountain or over the little hill that was right there. Ended up being a droid, of course. The droids themselves to me kind of looked like 3 gunk droid bodies that were like miniaturized and kind of put together. And they kind of had like some, little spider legs, like my little spider boy right here. And then a little clamp for mouth. Kind of an interesting design. We saw an actual literal, a couple of them Boston Dynamic droids in the first or second episode walking the streets. So, these look a little more Star Warsy to me, but still very cool. I love that, first of all, my baby boy, Grogu, or as we call him in our house, Yodi, because that's what we started calling him when we didn't know what his name was from season 1. Just what a treat to see him, right? Like, I'm just so in love with the guy. I mean, my wife's in love with him. We squeal when we see him on TV. It's not hard to convince us that like he's just the best. I love that he is, trying to do force stuff as they call it. A little frog hops by and a little one eye opens and he's watching it, a little distracted by it. And of course he uses the force on the frog because that's the best use for it. And then he gets busted by Luke. It's funny, I used to teach a class at a school once before, so it was kind of like the school and teacher type thing was really speaking to me. And then of course Luke then uses the force to lift all the frogs out of there. So it's a freaky day to be a frog, it sounds like, on wherever they were. His little Muppet walk was so cute. I love that throughout, even though I think there was a lot less of the puppet being used in this episode, he still moved like a puppet, looked like a puppet. So, I know they did this in the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian too, that they still tried to preserve those puppet movements, but I love that in this episode where I think they really did a lot more CGI, he still looked very puppet-like. So that was great to see. His little force hops were super cute, trying to walk and Luke just sort of like moving him along every once in a while with the force. That was just a great use of it. I'm not really sure the force would agree that's a great use of it, but it was a great use of it for the story. Teaching him a little bit about Yoda. Of course, all of us called him Baby Yoda when he first came on the scene, because that's the only other, other than Yaddle that we had seen before. So it was good that, finally we know that he's up to speed on kind of what we know, that we know about Yoda. He's just the cutest. I mean, it's just that easy. So we're done with the flashbacks for Boba Fett, it would seem like. And of course we had flashbacks in The Mandalorian of when he was a child and they got attacked by droids. And now it seems like maybe we're gonna get some like kind of force hypnosis about Grogu and maybe what happened with him. So we got to see Order 66, which was super cool. And it makes me wonder, I don't know this for sure, but I wonder if they did practical clone actors. Did they put actual actors in clone armor? And if so, does that make this the actual first appearance of real clone armor in a movie? Because in the prequel, to the best of my knowledge, I've always been told that all of the clone armor, clone helmets, the clones themselves in the prequel films was CGI. So I'm interested. If you guys know, hop down in the comments and let me know. So we get to see the Order 66. We get to see the 501st. I don't know who those Jedi were. If you know who those Jedi were, hop down in the comments. I didn't recognize them from the back. I didn't recognize the lightsaber that fell. Luke training Grogu was just a treat overall. I was super surprised to see Ahsoka. Luke and Ahsoka have met. I think that's sort of been a big question out in the world as far as, did they ever meet? Did Luke and Ahsoka ever talk about Anakin? Things like that. I thought her friend of the family line was a cute line, and then she referred to him as Master Luke, which is interesting because she's 30 some odd years older than he is, and of course she is not a Jedi. She is no Jedi. But for her to refer to him as Master Luke, I don't think until we get into the sequel trilogy we'd have anyone calling him actually Master Luke. He's a Jedi Master somewhat by his own own assignment. He kind of called himself that. So it's kind of cool to see someone like Ahsoka, who I think we all really respect, her abilities refer to him as Master Luke. So I thought that was cool. Building a Jedi school, that is always something that we've seen in the comics, more so the non-canon comics and books, just about Luke rebuilding the Jedi Order and the Jedi School and things like that. So very cool to see that. Grogu was to be his first student. We'll see. A little cliffhanger at the end there. Mando has sort of a, obviously he's there. He wants to see his baby boy, and I want to see his baby boy too. But there is this interesting, is he a foundling? Is he a Padawan? To kind of explore that throughout the episode. And it sounds like, just like what we saw in the last episode, the Jedi Creed and the Mandalorian Creed are basically opposites of one another. Something we had not really explored before. So which way do you go? Which path do you go? He refers to the little packet. He says his armor to protect him. And of course, Jedi don't tend to wear armor. They do a little bit in the Clone Wars, but they have the Force and they have their lightsabers and stuff like that for protection. So a different kind of interpretation. He needs this for protection, where the Jedi would be like, well, we're teaching him how to protect himself. So all cool. He just wants to see his baby boy. I totally get it. Also, I loved how Ahsoka looked in this. I loved how Rosario Dawson looked in this. The episode that we got to see her in The Mandalorian season 2. I thought she looked really good, but it was sort of a murky looking episode, kind of dark. A lot of fog and a lot of color casting and things like that. So it was kind of good to see her just out in the sun with a normal kind of backdrop, not a lot of haze and things like that. I think she looks fantastic. It gives me more hope for the Ahsoka series. I wasn't doubtful about it, but I did have my reservations as far as, did she have the physicality? Did it look right? And I think with a clearer view here, I am a little more sold on that. Grogu's in a little blue backpack, just like Yoda. It has the same stripes on it. Is it the exact same backpack? Is that a common backpack throughout the universe? You know what I mean? Like, it kind of seems like it kind of has to be the same backpack. I don't really know why Luke would have it still after all these years, that he would have grabbed that or whatever. Maybe that was something he brought. Maybe that's a Rebel Alliance issued backpack, for all I know. But it has the same kind of black stripes up the back. It looks a little less blue than maybe they used to in the past. But it's quite a few years later, so maybe it's been a little sun bleached. Grogu's little jumps. Anything Grogu does. Basically, this whole list could just be like, Grogu's cute when he does this, Grogu's cute when he does that. Luke looked and sounded, I think, really good. I had my hesitations about how he looked in the last episode of season 2 of The Mandalorian. When it comes to Rogue One, I think Tarkin actually looks really good. And I think Leia looks not great on that movie. We've seen what they've tried to do with Leia in The Rise of Skywalker. That actually, I think, looks pretty good. Granted, most of the time that some of that at least was her face and her performance, just heavily modified. So, but in this one, it didn't take me out of it. I thought it looked pretty good. Every once in a while, there'd be a little bit in the movements that would be a little off, but there were some movements that I saw that were kind of real subtle ones, with some eye movements, eye shifting, when Ahsoka was kind of leaving, that I thought looked spot on. And then anytime he was sort of in a still shot, not moving around a lot. I thought it looked great. Michaela, my wife, and I were kind of like, how are they doing this? Like, is this another actor? Like, it just looked great. And of course, Mark Hamill was involved again in some way. We don't really know. If you've watched kind of behind the scenes on Mandalorian season 2, the last episode, it kind of seems like he was like there to act, and then they sort of like didn't use any of that. So a little confusing, but cool to see. And I thought it looked great. It didn't take me out of it. He says, "Don't try, do," which is, of course, a different version of "There is no try." The bamboo forest is beautiful. It reminds me of one that we went through in Kyoto, Japan. Just a gorgeous setting for Star Wars. This episode to me felt really Star Wars. I don't know if it's just because there's R2-D2 and there's Luke and things like that, but it just felt legitimately Star Wars to me. And then we got some classic Star Wars music swelling up in there, so it was great to hear a little bit of John Williams come in there. Maybe that was part of it too, just hearing that classic score really makes it like that. Grogu's little 1 foot stance thing was just adorable. I mean, it's kind of funny because it's like, he's been around for 50 years. It seems like he would be able to like stand at least somewhat, balance somewhat on 1 foot for a little bit, but he's so squat and so small that, maybe a little bit hard. It was great to see the green lightsaber. That was the Return of the Jedi lightsaber. Is always my favorite lightsaber as a kid growing up. There was a big push, I know, before The Last Jedi came out. People were saying like ignite the green. People want to see that green lightsaber, and we didn't really get to see it except for like in the kind of flashbacks type thing. So it was good to see my favorite lightsaber up and doing its thing. So that was cool. I loved seeing the reflection of Luke and his lightsaber in Grogu's eyes. I thought that was super effective as well. I love that Grogu tries to play with the training remote as a ball. And the whole time, as soon as he turned it on, I was like, do not hurt my baby. All right, Papa Wookiee over here, you don't hurt Grogu. And he did get shocked a little bit, but then he adapted really quick. And again, awesome CGI, and I still love that it looks like a puppet. So, it's kind of weird. It's like you don't want it to look too realistic. You kind of want it to look fake, but that's what makes it look like Star Wars. But Star Wars has always looked so good because they do the impossible things and make these fake things look so real. I don't know. It's hitting that right balance as an artist. It takes a lot of skill and just the right amount, but not too much. It's brilliant though. I like that he force toasted the training remote. I don't know what he did. He just sort of made it go away. And Luke and Ahsoka were on screen together at the same time. And obviously you kind of got the impression that they've already talked and met and all that stuff, but just hasn't happened before. And I think there's been a lot of people who've always wondered, do they know each other? So that was cool to see. Sometimes the student guides the master, Ahsoka says. Very, very true for her relationship with Anakin. And she tells Luke that he is so much like his father, which is, you could take that a couple different ways. Of course, the person she's referring to is Anakin, not Darth Vader. And of course, she loved Anakin very much. So I can only imagine that that's meant to be taken as a compliment. And then we're done with that for the most part. And we come back to Tatooine, of course, because we're always going to Tatooine. Cool to see so many skips in the hangar when Din Djarin's bringing in his Naboo starfighter. The Gamorreans, I think, look a whole lot better. I like the Gamorreans now. I think it's because they've added a little bit more coverings to them, and they've added the helmets to them. So now they kind of look like an update of the Piggy that I love. I didn't love how they looked in the first couple episodes, and to me now they look a little bit more how I'm used to them. Is that the Krayt Dragon Skull from Season 2, Episode 1 of The Mandalorian on top of that Sandcrawler? I think it might be. Marshall Vanth oozes swagger. The way he comes out of that bar behind his deputy, he's just like, what's up, Mando? I know you're super cool. I know all these Star Wars nerds are in love with you, but I'm the Marshal around here. I mean, he just oozes confidence and all that stuff. Great performance. Limited performance as far as time, great performance. The weekly bartender was back. That was fun to see. I love that he says something about, Mando, you always get me with that big smile on your face. I thought that was hilarious. Okay. I gotta calm down already. As soon as I saw a silhouette of someone out in the distance, and I could see what kind of looked like a cowboy hat, I literally came forward in my chair and I clenched my feet. I clenched my hands together like this, and I'm like, oh my god, please be who I think you're gonna be. Mrs. Collector's off to the side here. She's like, let's go on. And I'm just like in this pose, because you know, they keep cutting back and forth. Cad freaking Bane. I love Cad Bane. I've always loved Cad Bane. The voice alone is enough for me to just be super excited. And he looks so good. I love that they kept the brim really low, and then they brought it up, and those eyes, they're so red. The teeth looked good. The only like slight criticism, he seemed a little pale to me, but like a little too pale blue, but oh, he looked good. He sounded great. He was terrifying, right? Like the teeth and things like that. It's not really something that I thought of before, that his teeth were kind of terrifying. And the little mound around his nose looked pretty good. Just solid. So excited. I knew as soon as that deputy showed up on screen, I was like, this guy's dying. Like, just for sure that he was gonna get it. So that was interesting. He said Boba Fett is a cold-blooded killer who worked for the Empire. That's not wrong, but Cad Bane, are you not basically the same? I mean, I guess we don't really know the history necessarily of everything Cad Bane has done, but in the Bad Batch, is he not trying to get Omega back for the Empire in that? I don't remember if we specifically remember who his employer is, but I mean, he's a cold blood killer too. So I don't know if he's just trying to say like, you know, that guy isn't any good, so don't partner with him. But it's not like, oh, you don't want to deal with that guy. Deal with Mr. Nice Cad Bane over here. So that was kind of interesting. Of course, they have history. In the Bad Batch, you see that Cad Bane has a metal plate on his head, and that is, we can assume, because of the missing episodes of the Clone Wars in which Boba Fett, as a young Boba Fett, and Cad Bane have a duel that ends with Cad Bane putting the dent in Boba Fett's helmet, and Boba Fett seemingly putting a dent in Cad Bane's head. So very interesting. So excited to see it. Of course, the Mandalorian, things on Tatooine in general, Book of Boba Fett, all very Western influence. It does not get any more Western influence than two guys standing out in the middle of the town, you know, with their fingers around their guns. So super Western there. Tatooine belongs to the Syndicate as long as the spice keeps running. This sounds so Dune to me, which is, I think, fine. You know, that Frank Herbert's work is obviously an influence on Star Wars, an influence on science fiction in general. But I thought that line was just very specifically Dune, and of course Dune right now is getting a lot of recognition with the new Denis Villeneuve movie from last year. So I just thought that was cool. Spice keeps running instead of the spice keeps flowing, which is used in Dune. So just amazing to see Cad Bane. And then they go back to the little nightclub area. So many good aliens in there, a lot of classic ones that we're used to seeing from the Mos Eisley Cantina and things like that. The helmets for cleaning line didn't work on this one, which at first was like, oh, well, you know, a little weird, but then they're pikes, you know, those pikes seem to look, they kind of look aquatic. So, and we're always used to seeing them with helmets on them, you know, most of the time anyway. So it wasn't that weird that they were like, no, dog, like, I don't need that. And then they didn't want their drinks, and they, you know, they blew it up. So it was a big old bomb inside that ice cream maker. So how fun is it that ice cream maker is making all these appearances all over these series? Whoever picked out that prop way back in Empire Strikes Back, they did a great job. It's become such a pop culture reference. So the little Jedi school gets finished. All the little robots apparently did a good job there. It looks very Octo, although I don't get the vibe that we're on Octo. So this must be, I guess that makes sense, because this must be where the you know, the Jedi temple maybe gets built at some point that Kylo Ren kind of destroys, kind of doesn't destroy, depending on whether you're reading the comics or not, or you're just going off kind of what you think of the movies are telling you. It still seems a little ambiguous to me. And then it's time to maybe get a present for Grogu, and he's got to decide what he wants to do. When he held it up, Mrs. Collector was like, oh, baby's first chainmail, which I thought was really cute. Lightsaber versus chainmail. Do you take the armor of the person that you kind of consider to be your father, or do you take the the weapon or the protection of a Jedi, the Master Yoda's lightsaber, no less? And I love that they didn't tell us in this episode. Hopefully, maybe we'll find out next week. Maybe we'll find out in season 3 of The Mandalorian. I can't help but feel that he'll end up back with The Mandalorian, because I kind of feel like that's just what the story kind of needs to do to keep Grogu in The Mandalorian. But kind of disappointing that maybe he won't become a Jedi. But maybe the trauma from Order 66 will get explored more, and it'll become more obvious that while he was on this path before to be a Jedi, that even when he got put back on that path, it's not the path for him. That maybe he's a Mandalorian. Maybe he's a Mandalorian. So guys, merchandise in this one. I like this Ahsoka get up a little bit more. I thought in the first time we saw Ahsoka, she just kind of had like too many like blankets on or something. Just like I had a hard time like seeing what she looked like, I guess. So I kind of like to look in this. I liked Luke's little robe get up that he had on that. I don't know how much that differs from the Mandalorian season finale of last season, but that was a look for me that I liked. Everyone else I think kind of looked the same. Merchandise and stuff like that kind of looked the same. Kabbanth, he's not, who knows, people in Star Wars, sometimes they come back. But for me, the standout thing that I would want from this would be a Cad Bane hot toy. I mean, so far in this series, if I could get a Blacker Sanson and I could get a Cad Bane hot toy, those would be my 2 top picks. I do have a Gentle Giant of Cad Bane, and one of these days I would love to do sort of like a head display or something like that of Cad Bane. Put a big old hat on him. But just a favorite character of mine. Guys, let me know if there's something you saw in this episode that you would like to see. What was your favorite part of this episode? It was a lot of fun. The last 2 episodes have been more Mandalorian than they have Book of Boba Fett. It was nice to at least see Boba Fett in this one. But I think we're definitely heading towards something in this last episode, which will kind of define where it is. But from what we know, this is a multi-season show. So we'll see what happens, but the last 2 episodes have been great, even if they haven't really felt like they have anything to do with Boba Fett. It's been fun to see all of our favorite characters again. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a like. If you like videos like this, please consider subscribing. It's a fast growing channel. We're having a ton of fun here. Also check us out on Instagram. I'm always posting collecting deals and stuff like that on there, as well as just like funny memes that I find. And it's a good place to be able to actually chat one-on-one with me. So guys, have a good day. See ya.